Hey guys, this is Ed with Population Go, and I've also got Thomas.
Hey.
And today we're talking Battlefield Hardline. As you guys might know, there's a beta running on the PS4 and also the PC right now for the next Battlefield game, which is in development by Visceral. They were known for their Dead Space games previously, but they've switched over to Battlefield. So, I've had the chance to play it for like 4 or 5 days now, and so is Thomas. We're just gonna kind of chat about it a little bit, talk about some problems, some good things, and yeah, just talk about things in general. Alright, so where do you want to start, Thomas? Why not?
I think probably the first place to start would be you know how the trailer mentions that it's the perfect job, that the criminals are trying to go for the perfect job. I feel like that is nothing like what they think that means. Because that implies that nothing goes wrong, and this game immediately starts out, every multiplayer match immediately starts out with, you know, the safes being cracked and all that, and an all-out war on the streets with the cops. And to me, like that was the first thing that I had to get over, was that this is nothing like Heat, the movie, and it's not about the perfect job, and I felt like that kind of skewed my expectations of it.
See,
I was expecting a much more subdued experience.
yeah, well, I mean, this is... Have you played Payday 2?
I was actually going to mention Payday 2. I've only played like a little bit of it.
Okay, because to me, Payday 2 is the perfect heist game. This is something different. This is like Payday mixed with Battlefields in the sense.
Yeah.
I think you're kind of like right on the nose with it. It's not perfect. It's not perfect score at all. It's everything goes to hell immediately, and
Yeah.
everyone's trying to pick up the pieces.
It takes place pretty much immediately after the perfect job turns into about the worst job you could imagine.
Well, like,
which is fun in its own right, but it's just not kind of what they pitched. And I mean, that's fine. It's just an initial shock that I kind of had to get over, where I wasn't really having fun with the game because I was expecting it to be kind of like Heat. And then once I stopped expecting it to be like Heat, and I started expecting it to be more like Battlefield, I started having a lot more fun with it.
I think that's a good point. I mean, this is... Let's be honest, this is not that different from any other Battlefield we've really played.
Right.
It's different, like, in the two game modes they give you, Heist and Blood Money, it's different in the fact that they're not, like, the old Battlefield game modes. You're more rushing for one specific or two specific points on the map, and everyone kind of, meets up at that point, bad guys and good guys, and it's like an all-out brawl at those points usually. So, in that sense, it's a little different. But the way it plays
it's
out,
a lot more like rush mode.
Yeah, the way it plays out though, it's like basically the same, and you'll have the same kind of typical idiots that sit on top of a building sniping, or will drive their car directly into the point with no abandon. So
yeah, it reminds me a lot more of heist mode in like Battlefield 4 and 3 and those games, because it focuses all the action on 2 points, which is fun but can get really chaotic really quickly when you have all these dudes like speeding toward 2 points on a map. I mean, having all that Battlefield action just centered right there can make it kind of super frustrating or kind of amazing at the same time. I kind of loved speeding around in a car. Like once I got used to it and I got kind of acclimated to what it was going for, I really loved just getting a car and just speeding around corners and just crashing like right into where the safe was and just taking out people that way and clearing an area with like the mobile transport when you're a cop. And just kind of like making sure that no one's even around, and like guys are spawning in. It gets crazy, which is kind of where like the Heat analogy would drop off, and why I kind of wish they hadn't even brought it up, is because this is just a crazy experience, and that's not what they pitched.
See,
but it's so crazy.
I'll make the comparison that to me it's like, say you were to imagine like all little action scenes going on in Battlefield, like an entire Battlefield match, and then you compress that into the size of like all those scenes in the size of a city block, and that's what happens. Yeah. It's just stuff kicking off in a small area all the time. So I think something I want to bring up is the match times. How How are you feeling about those? Because I'll get matches that last anywhere from 3 minutes up to the full 15 minutes, and it's... I don't know how like, they need to figure out a way to either extend them or get them in between somehow, and I don't know how they'll do that.
It's weird. I kind of like how different the match times can be, because, you know, I was playing a game earlier that took, 20 minutes or something because everyone was just at a standoff, and then the next game I played, I scored both loot bags and it was over in 3 minutes. It just seems like it depends on the skill of the team, which is kind of interesting to me, but it does make it kind of hard to predict how long you're going to be in that match. Like, I used to really love Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 because I knew that every match was going to take probably about 10 minutes or maybe a little bit less.
Yeah.
Here, you don't really have that kind of consistency.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair enough. I think I'm used to old Battlefields being like, 20, 30, 40-minute matches, which I really want to get away from. So,
yeah,
this is, in that sense, this is much better. But yeah, I think a lot of the match times, they go along with, well, I think two things. Unpredictability, which plays a big role, like we said. And also the balancing. I don't think the balancing is quite there yet.
Yeah,
I never feel like that's
either.
a strong point of the Battlefield series as a whole, really. But
yeah, it definitely feels kind of all over the place. I mean, it is rough. It is a beta,
yeah,
but it feels like they kind of have a lot to do.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I'm not expecting perfection here by any means, but I think something that going forward they're gonna have to at least look at is, I don't know. I guess because you like them and I'm kind of impartial right now, the match times might be okay. The modes they've got might be exactly what they need.
Right. Yeah, I mean, to me, I wish that they would lean into it a little harder in terms of, something like making the teams a little bit more asymmetrical. Like, to me, it doesn't make sense that the criminals have this unlimited source of cars and they have basically the same resources as the cops. And to me, that's just kind of weird. Like, I feel like cops should have, like, restrained guns, but more like cars, and criminals should have the opposite,
Yeah,
just stuff like that. I feel like they need to look at more to kind of make the game more interesting and less like typical Battlefield.
Well, that's the weird thing. In the past Battlefield games, they've had like separate weapon. Like they've been only, say you were like, I don't know, an army guy in Battlefield 2, you could only use like M16s and like the stereotypical army weapons.
Yeah.
And if you're on the other side, you could only use like an AK-47, which is the other stereotypical weapon, right? But
exactly.
I think they shifted in the recently, and now you have everything available. And I'm like, well, it doesn't make sense that this police officer has like an AK-47 or like an Uzi or something, and the criminal's running around with like an M16, and I don't know. And
yeah, I mean, M16s are in there because heat.
Yeah,
like they're very. You mentioned earlier that you would like music in it.
Yeah.
I mean, they're very clearly going for that kind of vibe. So the M16s are in there because heat. But yeah, like some stuff, it feels like they could make. It's weird to say make their fiction more consistent, but I feel like it would make their gameplay more interesting.
Yeah, I think then they would need to balance it a bit. Well, really, you don't need to balance it any better. You could just offset weapons, just weapon types on each side, and so like X weapon on terrorist side is exactly equivalent to X weapon on police side, and do that.
Yeah.
But I feel like they've already built weapon types into the Battlefield series, and if you start changing those, veterans will be like upset by that. So I don't.
Right.
I don't know.
How are you feeling about the smaller map size, like just a couple city blocks?
It's like I said, I think it's better because of the action's more focused, right? But
yeah,
this is not going to be a game that's 64 players, right?
No, I hope not.
Yeah, because I was thinking if this is 64 players again, I don't like. I can't even see myself playing this because it's going to be too ridiculous.
Yeah, I really love, like you said, it's like more focused, so they have more freedom to do something like there's so many buildings with interiors that you can just go and get in the elevator and get on the lobby, get on the roof and do that kind of stuff. And I feel like it's just so much more attention paid to individual small areas than they have in the past. Because in the past, it's just these huge, sprawling battlefields. You can only really do so much with it. But here, because they're focusing so much, I feel like the world has more to do in it, which is cool.
Yeah, I think that's definitely fair to say. I think, yeah, one of the definite pluses to this is instead of making a giant map that's, say, like a square kilometer, they can make a map that's half that size, but more interior spaces, more balanced in the center of it. Like, just, it's a better quality map with a smaller, like, in a smaller space, so.
Yeah.
I've got a kind of a problem with the vehicles. Like,
Okay.
you see, I think the police vehicles, they're way better than the terrorist vehicles, or the robbers, or whatever you want to call them. And that really frustrates me because you'll get police, like mobile command centers coming in, rolling up, and I get 30 cops coming out, like pouring out of those things because they can keep spawning on them. And then you get
they're insane.
And then you get the terrorist ones with like these little miniguns on the back of an SUV, and those are like crap compared. So
yeah, I think they just need to make the cop vehicles slower, and I think they could stick with the vehicles they have and just make the criminal vehicles super fast and the cop vehicles slower, and maybe limit the number of dudes that can spawn out of them at once. Because I mean, I was like 20 minutes ago or something, I was playing, and I just was ramming this mobile transport vehicle on the cop side just around where the safe was. And, I mean, guys were just spawning out of it the whole time. And, I mean, they couldn't take me down because that vehicle is such a tank. It felt unfair, but it was on my side, so I felt okay about it at the time.
Yeah, I've gone to the point where I'm using the class with the rocket launcher just so I can counter that stupid command center. Because once those things are there, it's like impossible to stop the flow of enemies that are spawning. So I think they got to do a bit of work there. And
which mode do you like better?
I play Heist usually. I find Blood Money, when I was playing it, I was getting just steamrolled by other teams. Because I find criminals would just run up to your vault, and they can steal money out of your team's vault.
Yeah,
right?
I watched a friend play, and he was 0.2 million away, which is very, very close to winning. And then the other team completely just rushed the vault and stole 100% of the money, like all the money, and they lost the match. And it was just this amazing hard swing. It was very coordinated. That's kind of what sold me on it. This just seems like a game where if you're coordinated, if your team is the least bit coordinated, you will like destroy the other team.
Yeah, I think that's true. Because what was happening in my games when I was playing Blood Money was I'd get squads, one or two squads, just continually attacking my team's vault and stealing money the whole time, and it was so frustrating because every time you deliver a bag, it's gone the next second.
Yeah, you gotta have a couple people there defending or something, but nobody ever wants to defend in a game like that. So that's what I mean is like if you have a team where you got a couple guys defending, a couple guys going for the money in the center, and then a couple guys going for their vault just to shake them up. I mean, you dominate very quickly. Like those are the matches where I've done the best is when the team is at least coordinating a little bit. I mean, even if if two people are talking on voice chat, then I mean that team is pretty much gonna win.
So quickly, we have to wrap up here, but I want to quickly talk about a couple of the minuses.
Okay.
I mentioned the fact about rubber banding earlier, and the fact it's still there, and kill trading. You don't know what kill trading is? It's when you kill a guy and he kills you at the exact same moment.
Yes.
Those problems were present in Battlefield 4, and I actually got rid of my copy of Battlefield 4 because the game was unplayable for me with the rubber banding. So
yeah, that's like classic Battlefield.
But I'm encouraged by a lot of things I see here because even on this basic beta level, it's more playable for me than Battlefield 4 ever was. So
yeah, I think Battlefield 4 has kind of come a long way. I thought it was so fun that I was willing to kind of put the issues aside. But this still has some issues that Battlefield 4 had. Like when the crane falls, it's like the big, huge crane in the center. It can explode and fall. The frame rate still goes. I mean, it goes to single digits, just like Battlefield 4 when that one building comes down. They've still got some of the same problems that just kind of carry over.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm glad they're doing a beta.
Yeah, well, I mean, they have lots of time to fix these issues, and we'll keep playing the beta because it's going to be around for a while longer, right?
Yeah.
All right, guys.
I'm excited to keep going.
So, yeah, we got to wrap up now. Thanks, guys, for watching, and we'll be doing more videos like this in the future, so comment and tell us what you'd like to see coming up.